guys, we are still here at Fantastic Fest, but you are checking this out at the end of season 3 of Vox Machina. I am still here with the cast, and we are going to chat full spoilers about everything that you just saw, and all of your broken hearts, and all of the mended hearts, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and all the stress that we now have to sit through between now and season 4. You guys, I have so many questions. First and foremost, how dare you?
Yeah. Therapy,
we dare.
Therapy bills our way. It's okay.
Yeah, because here's the thing, is we spent between season 2 and season 3 going, shit, Vax is gonna die. And now,
surprise!
We are sitting here once again between season 3 and season 4 going,
Vax is gonna die.
We gave you death, just maybe not the one that you were prepping for.
Yes. Let's talk about the pepper box, because obviously when this story first happened, it was very important that be the conversation, is that Percy created the first gun and dealing with the ramifications of that. Clearly, things have only gotten worse since this originally aired on Critical Role and now is doing it in the animated series. Obviously, not everybody is here to speak for themselves, but what can we say about the gun control conversation and how we wanted to tie that into Vox Machina?
Ooh, yeah.
I mean, Taliesin was, I think, brilliant when he made Percy originally, and tying in this sort of gunslinger thing, bringing in firearms into the world, balancing invention against consequence, how that's handled. And obviously it'll have ripples throughout Exandria, right? It's not just something that's in Vox Machina, it's in Mighty Nein. It's a pervasive thing, but also having Orthax, the Shadow Demon, come back from season 1 and then pop up in season 3. And I think for me as a fan of fantasy, understanding the rules of trying to squash a demon of that variety, and also knowing that other characters can, seek vengeance and also bring that in as well, was really, really interesting. And will obviously affect Percy going forward, but for the rest of his life, I don't think that's something you shake off.
Yeah, difficult legacy to cope with.
Yeah.
And I do, what I love is that our villains in particular, they have their points. There is no such thing as a black and white argument. So there's elements to Ripley's argument where she's I feel like some of this is unfair. You have mages and wizards running around blasting fireballs. Where does that leave the rest of us when wanting to defend ourselves? So I think that there's an interesting, obviously it's a very complicated conversation, and
it's a recurring theme that I think pops up in different places for us in this animated series and elsewhere, just who gets to hold the power.
Yes.
On different scales.
Do that again.
We're going to balance out that deeply heavy conversation with something that you touched on, with all of the villains kind of having a point, but I want to go one step further or one step backwards, depending on your perception there. Outside of the dragons, and I guess dragons, if that's your thing, Vox Machina very much falls into the category of if bad, why hot? Why are all the villains attractive? Explain yourselves.
Bad, why hot?
Bad, why hot?
You wanna hate to love them, and love to hate them, right?
Baddies are often very charismatic. Once again, it's not too dissimilar to things we see in the real world from time to time. Just because you're hot doesn't mean... Speaking of abusing power.
In that same conversation, let's talk about the introduction of Xerxes. I feel like he was the sleeper most interesting character in season 3, and I feel like we're going to see him again.
Will we see him again? That's a good question. Yeah, but that was, I think, one of the things that we were waiting to see the reaction over the most.
Yeah.
It was a combination of two story beats, and we've said it before when we were playing EXU, Calamity, when you're going back 800 years in the storyline, the Calamity was where the vestiges of divergence came from, this big battle between the gods. It's so lore rich, but hearing that a character survived it and went to the Hells, we knew that we were going to try and make a combination between the Fire Plane and the Hells. And could Xerxes still be there? What would that be like 800 years later? How has temperament changed? And getting a chance for one of the EXU Calamity characters to mix with Pike was just too juicy to pass up. And I think it also tees up the rest of the Vox Machina story in a really interesting way. And I would say, as fans of pop culture in general, we always like smart storytelling where you can see things that are going to come later. And that doesn't always happen because maybe the end of the story isn't written or you don't know where things are going to go, particularly from season to season. But we have that advantage. We know where the story is going to end. And so we can kind of front load some things that might pay off dividends a little bit later. But Luis came in and absolutely crushed his Xerxes with those dulcet tones. And yeah, I don't know. Who knows? If he shows up again or other characters from down the line.
See, we thought we were done giving you vague answers, but we're not.
Pike Trickfoot, you are now bound to the sanctum and the service of the fallen knight for eternity.
In part of that conversation, you mentioned big fans of pop culture, and I feel like season 3 has the most pop culture drops out of any other season. And there is one specifically that I want to talk about, and we are talking spoilers now, so it's fine. I love The Great Outdoors. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. Is Big Man Chase Me?
Big Man.
What does he say?
What? Big Man Chase Me!
The second it came out of his mouth, I was like,
we are.
Yes.
We love it. John Candy, Dan Aykroyd, rocked it. That is absolutely what it's for.
Perfect. The cadence was just there, but I was like, did you mean to, or was it on accident? Amazing.
Yeah.
Travis, I feel like every time we've talked about season 3, we haven't been able to talk about Grog a lot because he's such a cut and dry character. Like, there's not a lot to tease with him. What you see is what you get, you know. But now that we've seen the season, Grog is like the low-key MVP this year, where like he's not intentionally doing it, but he knows, like he solves so many problems.
Yeah.
Like you see it, and it starts small and then it grows. Like you see him with the little kids and you're like, oh, okay, well that makes sense because he thinks in the same way that the kids do. But gradually, he just keeps offering more and more answers to questions that everybody else is struggling with. Can you talk about that?
You know, it's hard being the brains of the group. You know, I think a lot of it is just watching a simpleton's approach to some of these things. Sometimes it's just going hands-on, having those conversations in the street. He also has the intellect of a child, right? He's very childlike. So when they were trying to figure out where Percy had been taken to, I just loved having, you know, the interaction with the kids. Also, just a little shout out. My son Ronan he's one of the little kids in the street. So that was fun to record as well. You know, a father and son doing a little scene there that he probably won't remember at all, but we'll always be able to hold it up. And you know, it's nice because we've got some of the best strategists and thinkers in the group, and you know they've got so much on their shoulders. And Grog at any time is thinking about sandwiches or boobs or you know anything. It's just like happens to be going through his simple mind. Squirrel, right? So it's nice sometimes you just have a little palate for him.
Well, sometimes the rest of the group is Hugo.
No, you got finish with that.
Nope.
No.
Not gonna do it.
Hold the parchment cheers.
Hold the parchment cheers.
Season here.
Oh wait, are we gonna go and shoot? Oh, okay.
Yeah. We shoot on 3. They shoot on 4.
Do it different here in Texas.
Only way. This is the only way.
Hold the parchment cheers. Shoot. No, we do it.
No, I was just gonna say Grog is actually he's still and always has been one of my favorite characters because even though yes there is a simplicity to the way he thinks, it's often not wrong. You know, there's like kind of a very clear straight line, and I think he has an intuition there and can often I feel like he's used to cut through the bullshit, especially when you're having these war rooms or these councils and there's a bunch of high concepts being thrown around and it's like, well, what do? We fuck shit up. That's what we do, like just cut and dry, which I love.
The other characters overthink things and are overwrought sometimes, and he has like a child's wisdom that we all lose in time, and sometimes that is the key to the beauty of Grog is how one of the beauties of Grog is how he's constantly underestimated, and just what pays off when he's the one who has the answer, whether it's intentional or not.
Yeah.
Usually not.
Whoa! I like that even more. Whoa. Yep, now I'm confused and aroused.
Kiki is my favorite character. I love her so much, but I identify most with Vex. And so destroying Vex's life just ruined me. So Percy's death, the emotional weight of that and just the exploration beyond that is its own whole thing. But the overall question here is about resurrection and the difficulty of shifting that mechanic from the game into the show. Because in the game, he cast a spell and then he's back. If you go back to Critical Role, like you can see the number of people who have died, resurrected, died, resurrected, everybody. But now it's in a different medium. So you have to change the way that you do that. And obviously we had it with Vex, but it was brief and there was an explanation. So when they bury Percy, you're just like, he's dead.
Yep.
And I know this man comes back. So we'll talk about the shifting mechanic there and how you wanted to integrate that.
Well, just to talk about the campaign, everybody died, everybody came back. There was a question of whether or not that would happen, but we were always scared in those moments. And there would be 100 hours until that next moment arrived. We had that much time for rumination, and now we have this much time. So if a person was dying every second or third episode, that would have no meaning. So we had to pick and choose our moments that helps with the overall story and give them real weight. So that we do deal with death at different points in the series and in the 3 seasons we have. And it was Percy's turn, and we thought it would be good to put him down and keep him down.
Yeah, I think the literal conversation was, so Percy's gonna die. What if he stayed dead for a while and every head kind of turned? We're like, what does that mean? What does that mean for how long? And so, we tried to make the end of the 7th episode hit as hard as it could, but we've also done cliffhangers a fair bit in our show. And so we also think the audience will say, like, it's okay, we'll come back in. Pike runs in, fixes it. They do some sort of revivification or resurrection rite. And instead it opens on a sentry with lanterns, funeral possession. And we had a few people that saw it for the first time and just literally went, what?
Yeah.
So that's what we want. And we're also going to be looking for opportunities just for the people that think they know what's coming next. We want to make you guess a little, right? Maybe we'll deviate even further from here. We might have lost our mind.
We kind of 2-for-1'd it too, because it was set up pretty beautifully from season 2 when Vex dies, and it's Kashaw that is the one, and he says very plainly, resurrection rites are hard and rare, and I've never done one before. And then so the one guy that Vox Machina knows that can kind of do it gets squishied.
Sorry, Kat.
Uh-oh. Shout out to Will for that.
And he's so charming and lovable, and like we kept asking ourselves in these big conflicts, where can we find a moment where like the flash of instant change can have effect, right? Where you're fighting dragons, there are titanic things happening. It can happen just that quickly, right? Before you know it, it's changed forever, and you're left with that shock of how do we cope, how do we keep going, we have to. And so trying to find that was a difficult thing, but ultimately one that I think hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
Not sorry.
Let's shift to Vax because his journey is now different, and it immediately comes after his whole like back and forth with Kiki. You know, you've called them the Jim and Pam of the series, but you know, we finally get our moment there after they're done fighting and worrying about the finality and you'll be stuck here without me, etc. But now we have the potential where that inevitability might come much sooner.
Seems like it's gonna be fine.
It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. He's just rotting from the outside. And you know, like there's a moment in this season where Kiki is talking about, you know, disease is solvable if you know how to do it. So like it's fine. Maybe she'll fix it. But I want to talk about his thought process throughout that and the decision-making process in that instance.
Well, I think the needle that we thread with Vax this full season is starting in the first episode where he can finally have this love that he's longed for so long, but he's got, you know, this specter sitting on his shoulder, so he pushes it away and doesn't want to add pain to all the pain that's on Keyleth's plate. So he decides that like they've got so much responsibility and so much weight for the world that takes precedence. And with everything that happens with the other couple in the back end of this season, I think their journey, Vex and Percy's journey, helps him, both of them, helps Vax realize that like life is short. You only get one shot, so you should be grasping whatever happiness you can. So we have, you know, they come together by the end, and it's good. That's it. That's just the concept.
So we're pushing at the end of our time here, but I want to get one last question in. We end so much differently than we have in other seasons. Everybody's going their own way, and it's a weird finality that we know is not final. So for each one of your characters, let's talk about where they're going from here and like the challenges of ending it in a beginning.
Yeah, I think at least for Grog, and I'll say for Grog and Pike, you know, Pike and Grog have been together ever since Grog left the Herd of Storms, and they're the best buddies. And I think Grog really is there just to adventure with Pike and also to try and keep her safe. But you've seen Pike adopt Vox Machina as this found family, and to see them sort of start to depart, I think she, you know, is going like, okay, well, what does this mean for us and for the rest of the group, and where does it go? And I'm sure Grog is just happy to, you know, find the next tavern folk that needs rescuing, or you know, a monster that needs to be destroyed. But I think it's gonna be a test, you know, to see where everybody goes. And you know, Grog will be happy-go-lucky, I think, regardless of where they're going. But Pike might feel that a little bit more and kind of wonder what's next for her. You know, everybody else finding their way to their next thing.
Yeah, I feel like we've kind of wanted to showcase like a lot of the characters struggle throughout the season that want and desire to push towards their own personal growth, but having this immense responsibility, very timely, that needed to be handled. So they put a lot of their own personal growth on the back burner. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of it was that, you know, Scanlan wanted to spend time with his daughter. Keyleth and Vax wanted to go off and start, you know, journeying on the rest of our Aramente. Of course, everything with Percy and Vax and wanting to go back to Whitestone. And, you know, we'll see, especially like you said, where poor Pikey and that struggle of personal growth versus, you know, needing to feel wanted and to have a purpose.
I think Vax departs the end of the season just wanting to appreciate the happiness that he does, to appreciate life, because he's not all about death. That's coming down the line. He feels like there's another shoe that's bound to drop somehow, but for now they've done something worthwhile. They've helped the world, and now all of them deserve to circle their wagons and sort of like treat themselves to life and love and happiness.
Well, happiness and definitely peaceful ever after.
Yeah, no problems whatsoever.
Yes, frolicking fields.
Yeah, it's fine. We're all fine. Everybody's fine. Nothing bad ever happens in Exandria. Yeah. One last thing. Vex. I did it anyway.
Do it
Not even
forever.
here.
Never time. That'll never.
Anyway, Vex calls off to the two of you and says, don't go getting eloped. And I know you're not going to answer the question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Are we hinting at what we know inevitably happens between Percy and Vixella? The faces was all they needed.
Things change. We don't know. Vex dies next forever this year.
Yay! The sun to the inside of or else out. Oh no.
All right, guys, that is all the time that we have today. Thank the three of you so much for all of the unhinged shenanigans that have gone on today at Fantastic Fest. Season 3 is great. I cannot wait for everybody to see it. Liam, Marisha, Travis, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So much fun. Don't sell these.
Yeah.
I'm going to hand them to Rachel. All right, bye, everybody.
Bye.